Hi, I'm State Senate Minority Leader Bruce Tarr, and I'm here with State Senator Vinny deMacedo, and we're here following a very important vote in the Massachusetts State Senate. For the last several weeks, a conference committee has been working to reconcile the budget passed by the House and the budget passed by the Senate into one unified document. Well, technically, that's known as a conference committee report. We refer to it as our state budget proposal for fiscal year 2016. That budget not only spends over $38.1 billion, it also is a reflection of the priorities of the legislature and addresses some very important issues. And there are things that it doesn't do that are also very important. When that budget left the Massachusetts State Senate, it had a tax increase that resulted from freezing the reduction in the income tax rate. That provision is not in the measure that we just approved. In addition to that, our state budget is now moving to Governor Baker's desk, has a number of important investments in things like local education with an increase in Chapter 70 funding, an increase in our funding for unrestricted general government aid. That's the funding that pays for things that cities and towns need to do every day, like police and fire protection. It also has a tremendous initiative and funding to back it up to try to make sure that families don't dwell in shelters but get into permanent housing. And along those same lines, there's also money to make sure that folks that are income eligible can have greater access to child care so that they can go to work and be able to know that their kids are safe and in a supportive environment that will now be funded largely by the state. In order to get to this point, we've had a conference committee working that consists of 3 members of the House and 3 members of the Senate. And we are so fortunate that our Senate Republican caucus gets 1 member of that team, and that member is a great state senator, Vinny deMacedo. Vinny, thank you for the good work that you've done. It's been a long process leading to this point, hasn't it?
It certainly has, and first let me take this opportunity to thank you for the opportunity to serve as that conferee. I had the privilege when I was in the House of being a conferee for many years, but I certainly didn't expect in my freshman year to have that opportunity. However, I was thrilled that you took a chance on me and enabled me to be able to advocate on behalf of what I believe was the administration's concerns and ours as Republicans, our concerns about trying to keep some sense of fiscal discipline when we were putting a budget together. You talked about a lot of important things that we've done, but we need to do those things in a fashion that lives within our means. And we did that. We addressed a lot of very important issues, and we lived within our means. We also addressed some very important policy issues. One of those, the MBTA, we gave the governor, I believe, the tools to really make a difference in that agency, an agency that is incredibly important to us, an agency that is subsidized by the Commonwealth by $1 billion. And we've given him, the governor, the tools to be able to control the costs in that area, make sure that it runs efficiently and effectively. And I think that's good, not just for the Commonwealth, but especially for the workers as well. Maybe some of them may not see it right now, but I believe working in cooperation with the administration and the employees, it is going to be a better product, and I think that that's a good thing. So when you look at all of the things that we were able to accomplish, living within our fiscal means, dealing with a $1.8 billion budget deficit, it really is something I think we can be proud of. And it took a long time. And the funny thing is, some of the things that happened in this budget were things that we didn't even know that could happen. I know you and Senator Hedlund worked very hard with Senator McGee to try to bring together that control board and put together a rational approach that worked for everybody. And people said it couldn't be done. And matter of fact, early on in the debate, we had like 13 votes out of 40. And by the end of it, we had a unanimous vote. And now that very document got incorporated into the conference committee, which ended up getting a unanimous vote in the House as well. So I think that from our perspective, there's plenty for us to be proud of that we left an imprint on the budget. The headlight issue that I know you led the charge on, the surcharge, which was wrong, and the taxpayers said it was wrong. We addressed the issue of stopping the tax reduction, which was very, very important because we made a commitment to the taxpayers. We were able to keep that commitment. So I'm I'm of the belief that I think when the governor gets it on his desk, he's probably going to make some vetoes, he's going to do something like that. But I generally believe that he's happy with the final result that's come through there. And I was proud to be part of that.
Well, we were lucky to have you, and we really didn't take a chance because we knew you could do the job, and you did do the job, and you represented all of us well. And equally as important, you represented people all across the Commonwealth with some priorities. And I'd like to take a little bit of a deeper look right now in 3 ways that we did impact this budget. And the first one is something that you mentioned, Senator, and that is the MBTA Fiscal Control and Management Board, the mechanism that the governor had suggested we should do to be able to focus specifically on the management of the MBTA with a focused board rather than the larger Mass DOT board, which otherwise would be managing the MBTA. And I think it's important to go back and remember that after the problems this winter, our caucus filed a bill that created a fiscal control board. Governor Baker subsequently filed a fiscal control board as well. But it really came down to some very long days and nights on the Senate floor where we were trying to structure a 5-person control board that will last initially for 3 years, could last as many as 5. It has 3 members of the Mass DOT board on it, and it's intended to be able to restructure the way that the MBTA is run to find efficiencies. And that was an amazing process, and I think people should know that we initiated that both on the floor with our amendment that we sponsored, but wasn't it amazing to see the way that the situation changed because of the bipartisanship and because we reached out to the majority party and were able to work together?
And that's something that I do appreciate, the fact that there's a respect. Clearly, we are in the minority numbers wise, but the reality is that that there is an appreciation that we do have something to offer, and maybe they don't agree with us on some of the policy, some of the bigger policy issues. But for you and I and the rest of the caucus, I think it's important for us to continue to keep a relationship, keep a bridge open, so that when other things that we can find common ground on, we can work together and make a better product. I'm convinced that this budget is a better product. It's frankly, I think, a better product than even what left here in the Senate. And it's because of those relationships that you keep open and you work together. And you agree to disagree on some of the other things that we might disagree on. It was clear when we left the budget left the Senate, we made it clear that we didn't support the freeze of the tax. But we supported the budget, and we supported that moving to the next process. And in reality, instead of, making a big stink and it wasn't exactly our way, we moved it to the next process, and it came back and it became a better product. And I've seen that, I've seen that happen. I saw that happen last year with the gun bill when we had done a version in the Senate, went over to in the House and went over to the Senate. You all worked on it. It became a better bill, and it was working in conjunction with the House and the Senate and Republican and Democrat. That's really what we need to do. And we see this problem, I think, all the time in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I'm proud that we're here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Despite the numbers, we're working together for the best part of the Commonwealth.
So let's talk just quickly about 2 other ways that we were able to influence this budget. And one of them was regard to the Olympics. A lot of folks are interested in the Olympics, but a lot of us have been concerned that we would get defaulted by a decision made by someone else to be responsible for the costs of the Olympics, of hosting the Olympics in any way. And so we were able to offer an amendment that would require the legislature to pass a special act, a resolution, before any money could be spent on the Olympics, so that we as representatives of the public would have a role to play before any money was authorized. Again, Senator Eileen Donahue, a champion of looking at the Olympics and the opportunity they might present, sat at the table with us. We were able to agree on that amendment, and now it's part of the budget that's moving on to the governor's desk.
And that's a huge victory. Frankly, I think everyone's concerned. Of course, everyone would kind of like the Olympics, but we're always concerned about those unintended consequences and what that could mean. I think, if anything, this can give people a peace of mind that nothing is going to be happening behind the scenes, and ultimately they're going to get stuck with the bill. Yeah. So congratulations on that, too.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your good work on that issue. And lastly, something that may not seem as important, but for the average motorist could become very important, and that is a change that was made to the law. So a good change in the fact that we all have to use our headlights in inclement weather, but a bad change in that if we offend against that law, not only would we get a fine, but we'd get a surcharge. And that's an undue burden. That's something we thought should be eliminated. We offered that amendment. Our House Republican colleagues supported a similar amendment, and lo and behold, the amendment has prevailed, and we're hoping to eliminate that surcharge. Again, great collaboration.
And that's a huge victory. It was one of those issues, when people found out about that, they get the, maybe a fine because you don't have your headlights on, there's a safety issue. But to be surcharged for the next 6 years clearly seemed like a boon, a boon for the insurance industry and not fair to the taxpayer. And the fact that we were able to fix that, we came together very quickly and responded to that is another big victory.
So this evening we've seen a great vote by the Massachusetts State Senate to move a very good budget onto the desk of Governor Baker. We feel like Senate Republicans have had a strong influence for a number of issues on that bill, both things that didn't happen, like a tax increase, and things that did happen, like the ones that we've just been discussing for a few moments. We want you to know that we really cherish the opportunity to work for you in this process. We've worked at it vigorously. Senator deMacedo did a great job as a member of the conference committee. The budget now moves to Governor Baker's desk. He has 10 days to take action on the things that will be before him as part of the budget. We'll keep you posted about that, but most of all, we appreciate your interest and we look forward to continuing to work for you and with you to make sure that we have a stronger, more vibrant Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thanks for watching.